Alright, so this is going to be a bit experimental. I've got one of the windows we use for the destructive testing. See, it's got a big crack through the middle. And I'll super glued it to a 80mm hardwood round. And I want to see if I can turn it down. So I've got a carbide, you can just see the tip of it poking out there. So I'm going to just see if I can knock the edges off it and see what happens. So if this doesn't just explode, then I'll rig up the vacuum cleaner to pull out the silica dust. But what I'm kind of expecting to happen is that the asymmetrical forces on it will sort of shear it off the block, the glue will fail, or it'll hit this little seam where the two halves of the glass join and it will split off one half, or it'll just shatter to a million pieces. So I got my safety glasses on, and I'm only going to be doing a little bit of a cut now, so the silica dust is not too much of an issue. But carbide is technically harder than glass, and I'm going to be taking extremely light cuts and see how we go. If this doesn't work, which is quite likely, what I'm going to do is rig up like a kind of a router configuration with a diamond grinding wheel and a spacer, such that the outer diameter of the wheel is lined up with the spacer, so I can just cut to the diameter of the glass. The reason for this is that I don't have great control over the diameter of the glass that comes out of the furnace, because it slumps at a predictable but hard to control rate. So I want to try to see if I can get the glass down to specific dimensions. That makes it a lot easier for it to fit into the aluminium machined parts. Okay, let's give it a go. So it's not particularly well centered, but it's the best I can get it. Just by eye. So that's taking basically a 1 thou depth of cut. .5 thou. Two thou. So it is actually doing an alright job. I can see across the top here it's taking off, I think it's making a flat section there, and it's kind of taking the top off this little blob of super glue that's dripped off there. So you know, might not be a total disaster. Let's carry on. And our carbide doesn't seem too worse for wear. Three thou. Do another pass at that same depth. So it's doing a lot of recutting as I pass over the same point at the same depth, which tells me that there's some spring in there somewhere. I suspect probably the wood. I might clamp it, see if I can clamp the jaws down a little bit tighter. See if we can stop that springing so much. It is making a fair bit of glass dust flying off now, so I am going to chuck some breathing protection on. And also this glass dust getting all over my ways isn't going to do them any favours. I'll have to do a careful clean after this, but it doesn't seem to be going too badly. I'll film the aftermath. Alright, so that's actually been remarkably successful. So I jerry-rigged up this shop vac, and that's as good as I could hope for. So just doing 2 thou passes. Still pretty springy. Like I'd have to, like if I ever went back at the same depth, it would cut again, indicating that it's not doing it clean. But I was just advancing 2 thou every pass, and yeah, it has spat out some slightly bigger chunks. I think that was like due to this sort of edge irregularity here. And it did take a chunk out at the join there. That's where it snapped through when we're doing the destructive testing. So there's a fair bit of dust everywhere, which is bad, so I'm going to have to oil everything down and wipe it all down and get it all tickety-boo. But you know, if you take it slow and you have PPE on and some air extraction, dust extraction, seems to work all right. I'm not going to bother turning this all the way down because this is just a write-off piece and it does take a hell of a long time. I think I'm probably able to do about 2 thou in 10 seconds, so to reduce it down to that desired 80 would take probably about another 20 minutes, and then I'd take it off the wood and then throw it in the bin because it's not useful for anything with a big crack in the middle. So the surface, you can feel it's a bit rough, but once I got it down to the desired diameter, I would then fire it again at the soak temperature, and that would relieve all the stresses that are being introduced as the surface gets all busted up like this. That would sort of tie it together, make it all strong again. My carbide is getting a bit sad. Not sure if I can get it to focus on the tip, but it has sort of taken a bit of a crater right out of the tip. So it was still cutting all right. Like I didn't change anything as it was eroding, but I think long term it would probably chew through the inserts. But you know, all in all, successful experiment. Okay, bye bye.